Welcome to Safe Spaces and Green Spaces, a special segment of the Daily Parks and Rec Show, where we explore mental health, well-being, and the positive impact parks and recreation have on building stronger, healthier communities. Hosted by Thomas White, join us every first Wednesday of the month at 1:30 p.m. Eastern for inspiring conversations, real stories, and practical insights that help create safe places for everyone. In this episode, Safe Spaces in Green Spaces dives into mental health, authenticity, and the importance of creating supportive spaces where people can thrive personally and professionally.
All right, everybody. Hello and welcome to Safe Spaces and Green Spaces. My name is Thomas White. I am your host. This is a show where we have the raw, unedited conversations about the struggles we all face, how we cope with them, and our work environments. Now, here's the caveat. I believe that if we create a safe place in our parks and recreation work environment, we will unleash creativity and innovation like never before because people will feel like they can be themselves despite the mental health issues that we all face every day. Instead of trying to hide them and cover them up for compliance, if we can be ourselves, creativity will not be able to stop. So, like I said, my name is Thomas White. We will have Josette Pelatan on here with us in just a minute. She is an amazing film producer and scientist that is from Portugal, and I believe she's in Texas now. Her story will blow you away. I can't wait to that moment. But before we get started, let's hear from the amazing people that are keeping the lights on and everything that's happening at DPRS Media. Take it away, Jovi.
Technology isn't just changing devices, it's changing communities. It's changing how we connect, how we lead, and how we create experiences that bring people together. Because today's parks and recreation industry isn't only about fields, facilities, and programs. It's about innovation, smart systems, digital experiences, and the people transforming ideas into impact. Behind every thriving community, there are leaders embracing change. As technology evolves, parks and recreation professionals are discovering new ways to create safer spaces, stronger connections, and better experiences for everyone. This is where conversations meet innovation, where ideas become action, where parks and technology come together. Welcome to Parks and Tech Collective, streaming on DPRS Media Network.
All right, and we are back with Josette Pelatan, and I'm so sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Uh, for
You
some
are
reason,
saying
my
it. You're saying it great.
okay, perfect, sounds great. Well, so we want to dive into your story. It's quite a story. I don't want to take anything away from it. Please, by all means, take it away. Tell us who you are.
Oh my goodness, Thomas, this is a lot of pressure. I live in El Paso, Texas, which is home for me now. I grew up in France, and I was born in Miami. Feel free to ask me specific questions to guide the conversation. I don't know what to tell you. I have a company that's very recent. In February, I started Josette XMP Productions LLC, thanks to a lot of support, people investing in the LLC, for instance. And so the main goal of the production was to get my feature film, The Prostitute's Daughter, to be created, and my documentary, which is also my current situation, Homeless with a PhD, worked on. So here we are. Very thankful to be with you, Thomas, today.
So tell us about that. Tell us about, and this is where I wanted us to go. Tell us about your films. Let's start with The Prostitute's Daughter.
My films. I was born in Miami, and I don't know all the details of the first few 2, 3 years of my life. I do know that I lived through abuse in the mix of addiction. My mother lived with addictions and mental health concerns. That is for certain. And so I didn't know who I was as a little girl because I was adopted by my dad's parents. And I grew up in very good circumstances in south of France, a beautiful place, beautiful people. But I didn't really know who I was because I didn't know who my mother was. She did come to France once when I was 4 years old, and I recall this memory very vividly in a way that will not make me shine. I know people like to see all the good and the great of the people speaking, but all I recall is visceral hate towards that person. And nobody should know visceral hate at any age, but it's even more shocking to know a 4 year old little girl, which is me, that felt such a horrible feeling she didn't have words for towards that individual that gave her life. And so I grew up highly stigmatized, carrying a lot of guilt and shame because of those feelings that I would try to change. I tried everything. Um, and later on in life, when I moved to the United States and I moved to El Paso, Texas, I decided that it was a big weight for me to carry that I wanted to change. So I decided to meet her, and unfortunately, those feelings came back even stronger. And so I was divided between the Josette that is very empathetic towards the world. Like, people are the product of their education, their mental health, their addiction, so much, right, going on. And so they are victims rather than evil people. And there was that woman that gave me life, and I felt the three most agonizing days of my life where I had to mask visceral, passionate hate, and I couldn't wait for her to leave because never did I intend to hurt anybody, but the feeling of was very deep within. So yeah, The Prostitute's Daughter is a featured film tracing my life story, going through housing insecurity on and off, having a lot of problems with relationship because I also live with a reactive attachment disorder. Um, Sorry, I'm a little nervous today for some reason. I have moments, I have days and
You're
times,
doing
which is
amazing.
great.
You're doing amazing.
Thank you, Thomas. It's a safe space, so this is where I get to breathe a little bit. I appreciate that, Thomas.
It's literally in the icon at the top of the screen, safe spaces. So there you go. Yeah.
It's a good place to be. Thank you, Thomas. Yeah, so the featured film traces the contradictions of that girl, which is me, myself, and I, and the good, the bad, the ugly, because I want the audience to see it all. There are certain things you can't read on people's forehead. And then the documentary, Homeless with a PhD, is more my academic journey, where I was labeled special ed, at risk as a child. I wasn't performing. I failed 2 grades, which in France is very, very rare. And later on, I obtained degrees and certifications and awards and scholarship, and gained my PhD to prove a medical case. And I successfully did so. So that documentary per se is the extension of my dissertation, still trying to gain access to disability and exposing the downfall of a system, right? Because I'm very driven and it has worked against me because all people see, we're talking about not faking, but it has helped me climb the ladder per se. So that's going to make for an interesting conversation. But go ahead. I don't want to overwhelm you with all the details.
No, you're doing great. You're doing great. So there's a couple of things that I want to talk about in what you just said, but first I want to talk about the juxtaposition here. So you are a PhD from France. I am a country boy from South Georgia that was raised on an old pig farm. So we can it is not possible for us to have a different background than what we had growing up. And yet we face some of the same issues. And there's a word that I really want to focus on what you said, masking. Masking. Can you tell us in your thoughts? Can you just define masking for us?
Yes, so I am on the spectrum. I think it's the Asperger's, so certain sounds are very hard for me to deal with, but I've been very good at masking it. So, for instance, the air conditioning sound, which most people do not notice, is very bothersome for me and doesn't let me sleep. I also need much more sleep than average because I have a demyelinating disease and so on, so many things. But masking has been essential for me to gain higher positions and to stay in school. So while I absolutely support what you are saying in safe spaces, be yourself, do not mask, we all deal with something, and it's amazing for specific journeys, and I will just focus on my own. It has been unfortunately exhausting and essential for me to mask that I was underperforming in some aspect, to mask that I was very distracted because of certain sounds, to mask that I was all over the place. And I still have to mask to a certain extent today, even in those safe spaces, because I feel the need to want the audience to listen to what's next. And not everybody has the ability to adapt. When we're talking about normies, I have found that they also lack the ability to adapt to differences. So I am 110% with you, right, Thomas? I agree. But personally, I feel that that survival line still demands a certain level of masking from me for what I'm aiming for.
So yeah, 100%. Masking will never disappear. It's something that people with different issues, the neurodivergent, deal with every day. There's no way our society is not built it's not built around the neurodivergent, obviously. It's built around the neurotypical. That's just because it is the majority of people are the neurotypical. And so, but masking is just so exhausting. And so our goal on the show is to get the word out about minimizing as much as the stigma as possible, creating as safe a space as possible so that people will feel comfortable dropping that mask as much as possible. Now, that being said, there are mornings where I will come in and it usually hits me in the mornings or really late at evening that one of my sounds, because I'm also triggered, but one of my sounds is the noise that people make when they're enjoying either a food or a drink. I can't deal with it. I cannot process it. It will send me spiraling, and so obviously I have to mask that because we have a thing every morning where I work, and I work at a great place that is very supportive of my neurodivergence. And Parks and Rec, you'll find the more that you work with the Parks and Rec people, there is a very high number, probably a disproportionate amount of neurodivergent people in Parks and Rec compared to other fields. I think we're attracted to the freedom and the vibrancy of it. But we have this thing every morning called Breakfast Club where we literally sit around and talk about everything for an hour from personal issues to planning out our day. And for that hour, it brings us together as a team, but coffee and food are there with everybody every morning. And it is impossible for me not to hear that sound. So I have to, no matter how great our environment is, no matter how supportive they are, there are still some things that I have to mask because if not, I'm gonna snap and say something that I shouldn't just because my nerves are shot. And obviously that will make me to appear to be an aggressive person, someone that can't get along with others. So yeah, masking 100% will have to take place. And I think what we have to do in our workplaces, and this is what I'm advocating for, is to create that balance, to minimize it as much as possible, or rather create a safe space where the neurodivergent can minimize their masking as much as possible, where they can feel as comfortable as possible. We'll never get to the place where they can drop the mask, because the moment I leave my home, the mask comes up. Even outside of work, it's everywhere I go. There's no way around it. Even right now, even though I'm in my home, I am masked right now. The thoughts going through my head are not 100% the thoughts that are coming here right now, that are coming out right now. And so let's talk about the degree of masking, if you're willing to. What is the degree of masking that you're having to face every day?
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I just want to make a note about what you just said. I think it's amazing that you're saying this on camera because I struggle a lot. I advocate for authenticity, but just like you, having to wear that mask or feeling that I have to is also bringing out a lot of guilt, right? Well, how can you advocate for such but also do blank? And so I'm so glad that there is people like you who are willing to accept this and try to explain it on camera to make sense of it. Could you reframe your question again? I'm so sorry, I forgot.
No, 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 no. It's okay. I'm actually wanting to say I have a unique past in which we talked a little bit about it before. I worked in the Department of Corrections here in Georgia. Now, which is the prison system in Georgia. Now, I am, at the time, was 150 pounds, uh, very skinny person, nerdy type of guy. Working in the prison system would not be what people expected, but I was just a couple of weeks away from homelessness. I took the first job that I could find just so I could pay the bills, and that's how I wound up working in the prison system. But the prison system is a paramilitary organization, meaning that there are certain standards you have to meet. You have to be in compliance with everything from your dress to how you speak. And so masking was essential for me. There was no way around it. Talk about the ultimate unsafe space. That is it. And that doesn't even get into the other issues that I found with the prison system. I'm not sure when we had our introduction. I think I did not tell you very much about what my history, just so the conversation would be authentic. But the prison system made me realize that I didn't want to live life that way in more ways than one. The masking, I didn't want to do the masking. I didn't want to continue to do that because it was resulting in unprocessed mental health issues. PTSD. I was stabbed, hit in the head with a lot, thrown down a flight of stairs, had 21 inmates attack me. It's a whole list of things. I had two spine surgeries and a shoulder surgery before I was 34. Like there's just tons and tons of issues. Obviously, lots of PTSD from that. But I never recognized it or processed it until after I left the prison system. So it just shows you the degree of masking. One, it did that. But two, I also saw people coming into prison that would come there for drug charges. And it would be something as simple as marijuana. They would have, which is now legal in most of the United States now at this point, either legal or decriminalized in most of the United States at this point. And but back in 2007, 2008, when I started, they were coming in, and it was only 2 years, but they would commit another crime in prison to defend themselves and never get out of prison again, and never get out of prison again. But the people that were there, that were in those circumstances, more often than not, had been faced with a situation growing up that is literally all they knew. Society had failed them. And so, on two levels, I wanted to get out of the system that was a reactive solution. And I use solution very loosely because I don't think it's a solution. I think it actually adds to the problem, but it is viewed as a solution by society. Corrections is. I disagree with it 100%, or at least in the form that we have it now. Uh, but by its very nature, it's reactive. And so I wanted to be in something more proactive. And that's what led me to uh, Parks and Recreation, because Parks and Recreation has the ability to go into communities that other branches of government can't, because people, even though they know Parks and Rec, oh, yes, I know that I'm playing baseball on a government field. They don't really think of it as government. They just think of it there as playing on a government field. So we're able to go into communities that others are not. And so that's what led me to Parks and Recreation. And two reasons. Again, like I said, I wanted to do something more proactive to that solution I found. And I didn't want to live my life behind a mask, especially to the degree that I was masking then. And so that's my question. What degree of masking have you had to do throughout your life? Has it dwindled? That's my question.
It's so when I have a physical relapse, because I also live with many things, including complex PTSD, depression, anxiety, reactive attachment disorder, and I'm on the Asperger's spectrum. But I also live with a demyelinating disease. When I have those physical relapses, my mental health becomes very, very severe. So it goes hand in hand kind of thing. Whenever I am not flaring up or experiencing a physical relapse, it's manageable to an extent, but not to the extent where I've been able to keep a job. So I was always having 2 to 3 jobs, juggling them, because somehow I knew I wasn't able to keep them for a long period of time. So one of my last jobs was I was teaching pre-med students in a high school, and I had specifically requested a classroom for accommodation. I needed a classroom, and I made it clear during my interview. I have a service dog, but specifically because I need to organize the seating and do breath work with my kids. I need to do affirmation, things that help me stay grounded and help them stay focused. And so I had that big vision. Unfortunately, after I got the job, I got placed into the auditorium. And so to know, because there was no classroom available, and I thought, okay, I just have to wait 2, 3 weeks for a classroom. But 2, 3 weeks in an auditorium for me was really, really exhausting, because I was performing as that teacher. Okay, do your work. And I was kind of screaming, but there was a lot of background noise constantly that the majority of people filter out. They do that naturally. So they were not listening to the background noise, to the echo, to the air conditioning. But to me, it was very overwhelming. So after 3 weeks, I realized I still didn't have a classroom. After a month, I didn't have a classroom, a month and a half. And of course, my health went downhill very fast. And I was starting to flare up, losing my eyesight, my balance, pain at night, the compounding effect of living with people that, of course, I live in the desert. People need the air conditioning. And so lacking sleep also, because the air conditioning is running at night. So I couldn't hold that last job, and I fell into a massive relapse, which I'm so thankful for, because that massive relapse led me to finalizing my diagnosis, right? The lesions were active. So I try to believe everything happens for a reason and try to see the positive side of things. But the facts are, I am very capable of getting a wide range of jobs, but I most likely cannot keep them for many, many reasons, including the ones I just described. Like I love teaching and I love kids, but I need specific conditions that I requested for accommodations, which were not followed. And so people don't see, because what they see is the driven performance, which I am driven, but I'm also performing normativity, meaning I'm fine. Okay, the AC is running, but I'm fine. I make eye contact. I'm training myself constantly to pace myself as I speak. Sometimes I cannot, and it becomes obvious. I go into a panic mode and I don't make sense. But it is training. Like, people go to the gym every day to train their muscles to become stronger. For me, it's a constant cognitive work of, am I doing the right gesture? Am I keeping the right tone? Am I pacing myself or becoming overwhelming? And sometimes I can negotiate with my nervous system a way to calm down and settle enough so it is not visible. Other times I'm not.
You were literally attempting to train your brain to do what it's not meant to do. In the divergent, our brains are developed differently. And it can be anything from an underdevelopment, which would be my case with the ADHD and other things that I deal with, to a maldevelopment. It just depends on what it is. But you're trying to create a new neural pathway where one literally does not exist. So I'm sorry. Keep going.
Yeah, Thomas, this is absolutely, I am so glad that you mentioned this. So, when I went into my studies for both the need to have a physical diagnosis and how to cope with housing instability, harassment, rape, many things I had gone through, I went into neuroplasticity on the side and I started taking every free courses. I started applying different types of breath work, meditation, grounding techniques, listening to all of the free content while taking notes to develop those new neural pathways. And I am absolutely convinced, because I'm the product of this, that if you are consistent, determined, and walk with delusional faith, improvement can indeed happen. I mean, 3 years
I
ago, I would
like
have
that
never been,
delusional faith. I like that.
yeah, I would have never been doing what I'm doing now 3, 4 years ago. And so when I had that crash, that turnaround in 2022, which I call post-traumatic growth meets divine intervention, I was now willing to fail at trying every single day. And so I kept on failing, but I was never going to give up again. And when I did give up, it wasn't permanent. And I thought, what would I want for my daughter if I had one? I would want her to go reach for the stars and heal from whatever supposedly cannot be healed. And that was both the mental, the emotional, what I didn't know. So, healing in mental health has a lot to do with processing trauma. I've gone through a lot of trauma I do not recall because I was so young. It was before 3 years old. So, whether it was during pregnancy, exposed to drugs, alcohol, prostitution, and abuse after birth, I don't recall it, but my body does. And so I could have used this as the excuse of, well, you can't. You have to just accept your condition, take pills if they're available, infusion in that case, which are madly expensive, and settle for a man, settle for not holding a job and keep on getting your next job, or you reach for the stars. And that's what I did, and that's what brought me to my production. That, okay, every producer that told me no or that didn't reply was an opportunity for me to learn the business. And I became, in the process, my own script writer, my own producer, my own director, I'm my own connector. I'm doing the work on my terms for my mental, emotional, and physical health and purpose. So I no longer feel like I'm a slave of the system. I feel that I have found a way to make the system work for me until I make it out. And it's a great place to be. And I can't emphasize enough, I'm working on a project called Empowering Minds, where I want to talk to the youth. You know, they tell you that you can't change when you're close to 40, you have to do it when you're a kid, or that it's impossible to get better because you were born this way. And I learned this close to 40. I was over 35. I am doing so much better than I ever did at 10, at 15, at 25, at 30. And every single year since 2022 has gotten better for me. So, not in the financial aspect. People are like, well, you don't have a car, you don't have a house, you are on food stamp, and you still don't have access to your infusions. But I'm like, yes, but I have the best mindset I've ever had in my whole life. I have spoken to amazing people like Thomas and Craig because I have rewired my brain with such determination that it's easy to give up when you give up on yourself. But if you think about something you created and you love, like a child, and I don't have a child, but that mini Josette, oh, I want everything for her. So every time I feel like it's impossible, I'm going to try the impossible because I'm getting it for her.
I'm so glad you said that because I was 37 when I went through my turning point. It was 2023, and that's when I went through my turning point that I had left the Department of Corrections and was with Parks and Recreation. But of course, just because I was gone, it doesn't mean that my neurodivergence went away. It doesn't mean that my anxiety and depression, which come from that, had gone away. And it definitely didn't mean that PTSD from the prison had gone away. In fact, I had not even acknowledged any of that except for the ADHD. It's trust me, if you work with me, it's obvious. But I had not acknowledged any of that. And then finally in 2023, it came to a head, and it sent me into a downward spiral that literally crippled me uh, mentally and physically for a time. And it was my work environment and my work family that got me out. But before we go into that, and before we go any further, we're going to go to a break really quick, just a couple of minutes. Jovi, if you can take us away.
It's not just water, it's responsibility, it's leadership. It's not just drowning prevention or water safety, it's life. And every day, aquatics professionals make decisions that save lives. Because aquatics is more than swim lessons. It's community, it's creativity, it's impact. For over 30 years, aquatics hasn't just been my profession, it's been my life. I've seen the challenges, the pressure, the grind, but I've also seen the power of great leadership and what happens when communities come together. This is where education meets entertainment, where real conversations happen, where aquatics professionals come together to learn, lead, and grow. Because aquatics should bring people together. This is Aquatics Life, streaming on DPRS Media Network.
This episode is brought to you by SDSU's Sports MBA program. If you're passionate about sports and want to work in the women's sports industry, then this is the time to pay attention. SDSU's program is 12 months accelerated hands-on learning where students have actually gotten to work with teams like the San Diego Mojo, partnered with the Farmers Insurance Open, and visited headquarters like the Upper Deck or Callaway Golf. It's built for people who want to be in rooms like that. So if you're interested, deadlines are approaching. Learn more or apply with the links in the description.
All right, and we are back from the break. I didn't realize it had ended at the same time. My cat is crying at the door. I've actually got one cat that has somehow managed to get into the office. I swear every single show it's a different cat or both that somehow managed to get in here. So you're probably going to hear the cat in the background. I am so sorry about that.
I
But
love animals. That is my favorite thing in the whole world, by the way. Animals.
good. So I want to steer the conversation. We just talked about the turning point for both of us, 2022 for you, 2023 for me. And that is what made me start speaking up and made me drop my filter. And it seems like that was the same for you.
Yes, well, I had a desire to heal that was always kind of there. In 2014, I joined the National Alliance on Mental Illnesses. I was desperate, I was unwell, I didn't know what I had. Everything was brushed off for my mental health, which I did have, but I had something on top. And so I joined a program of NAMI that was called In Our Own Voice. And I was baffled by the courage of those people to share their stories of their dark days, because I was so used to putting on a mask of, sure, I was driven, but I was also the clown. Always. I wanted people to laugh and not feel uncomfortable. And I certainly did not want them to see a victim side of me, which I had painfully. Also, I was experiencing it, but I was trying not to show it to the world. So the world would see that the happiest girl alive. And when I joined that program, I realized that I was very judgmental towards the world and myself. But when I listened to people tell their stories, a piece of me, a part of Josette was like, did you really go through all this? And then I would have to train myself to take a step back and be like, wow, this is probably why I don't tell my story. Because if I did, I would have a big chunk of the crowd think, did you really go through all this? And so it was a very nice practice because I dived myself into different NAMI programs. I started speaking up little by little, very filtered, minimal, but with that constant reflection practice of wow, one day I will stop. First of all, one day I want to stop judging because that's horrible. That's not who I want to be. I'm judging people. I don't know what they've gone through. And also understanding that there was an interaction with why I couldn't open up, right? Well, if I think that way, they're going to think that way about me. So in 2022, when I was at rock bottom, physically, mentally, financially, it was it was a turnaround where I was like, wow, I think I've finally learned the lesson that I was trying to learn. So it felt like life was teaching me a lesson and I wasn't fully ready to pass the class until 2022. And in 2022, which is the reason I'm with you today, which is the reason I'm doing my film production against all odds, talking to many people. I'm going to be doing a comedy show. It's because I understand that those creeping thoughts about what people are going to think are irrelevant. I don't judge them back. I don't want to have any grudges toward them because I have been them. And that puts me in such a wonderful position of I love everybody. Those who hate me, those who judge me, because I have been every single person here of the good and the bad and the ugly and the worst, that there is no more space for me to say, they don't deserve me. Not even that. A lot of people think that way, and that's where they are at. But where I'm at is I welcome it because the battle is between me, myself, and I, and that is it. And I see it as a winning challenge now, all the way. Does that make sense?
So I'm sorry, I've got to go back. Yes, it 100% makes sense, and I'm going to talk about it, but I've got to go back just a few sentences ago. Comedy show.
Yes. So I still, ever since I was young, I love to make people laugh because I think laughter is a positive release of energy. It makes me feel happy. But being on stage for it was kind of, I was the clown in the street, but never courageous enough to grab the mic. And I just 2 days ago scheduled my own comedy show in a local bar. I'm kind of excited about it because yeah, I'm going to be advertising it. And again, it's challenging those demons of what if they don't laugh? What if I say something highly inappropriate? What if I say something that's hurtful and that I don't mean? All those what if are the reasons I'm doing everything that I'm doing because I'm going to mess up, continue to mess up. Visibility is scary, it's vulnerability. And I'm all the way in for my journey. So Josette is gonna continue on messing up and that's okay because that's how I'm gonna learn and do better. Those judgments are welcome.
That's how we grow. That's how we grow.
Yeah.
So I'm just taking everything I can right now not to go to Delta and look at flights to Texas just to see the comedy show. So I can't wait to hear about it. You got to let me know how it goes afterwards. I will be sending you support all the way from Atlanta, Georgia. But
Thank you, Thomas.
you are the perfect illustration of what I am talking about what the purpose of this show is. If we can create work environments in which we accommodate people for in a way that works for them, in a way that helps them thrive despite their mental health issues. We do away with that stigma, we do away with judgment, we do away with compliance culture. We can unleash creativity and innovation that we have never experienced in the workforce before. And I really think that if we can do that, if we can tap into that across the world, it will make the Renaissance look like a brief period because it will be that explosive, that long, that altering that we make the Renaissance, which took 100 years, look like this brief period of minimal growth because that is how different it can be. And you're the perfect example of that. You were forcing yourself to follow what society said that you should follow. You were masking, you were trying to change yourself instead of embracing who you were and expanding that. And now look at you. You're literally making films. You're literally making films. just going through your LinkedIn page, I see you on a magazine, I see you on a podcast, you're doing a comedy show, you've got a women's leadership thing in July. Like that's just going down your LinkedIn page. You're on podcasts and videos after and after and after, like you embraced that. Imagine what the workforce would look like, what a workplace would look like if we could do that for everyone. What are your thoughts on someone that has experienced a compliance workplace that didn't help you, didn't provide the accommodations? What are your thoughts on a workplace that would do that?
Thank you, Thomas. You are so eloquent and sweet. I think everybody has so much untapped potential. And I hear a lot of people say, well, blank is human nature as an excuse to limit ourselves. But if we truly have a vision of who we want to become, and we actively, consciously, intentionally work towards that vision, together is even better, right? That's why I'm working on the empowering minds, where we do breath work together because we know that it works. There are certain things that help all of us improve our emotion control, our vision of the world in terms of affirmations, of having those discussions of, hey, you know what? I failed two grades. I dropped out of high school. I was dropped out at risk and special ed, unable to do anything. And oh my goodness, my dissertation defense was the worst dissertation defense in the whole world because of anxiety. It doesn't matter because I still graduated and I improved. And one day I'm going to be able to do better with it. So that's what I want for every child and every adult. I think we also leave a lot of elderly behind because we have that assumption that, well, they're too old to change. No, 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 no. It starts by belief. So I watched a video of an 80 years old woman who just finished a triathlon. 80 years old, and she started in her late 50s. This is so empowering, and we need to keep on hearing those stories so that we can change the discourse of it's not possible, that's the way they are, that's too late, or yeah, we all have infinite potential. So every time I meet somebody that doesn't believe in themselves, I feel that it's part of my duty to remind them how amazing and incredibly powerful they are. Like you said, masking, right? I don't have the answers for everybody. Some people might be in a position where they do not need to mask, and I'm cheering them on. Be yourself. How freaking amazing. I hope that one day I will feel that way too, and I'm working actively towards that. But I'm not there yet for blank, 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 blank excuses and or reasons that I might have, right? But if we all are here to lift up each other and see value in one another, then we are going to change the world for the best. And right now, we really need to have that delusional faith.
I
That's my
use change the
perspective.
world. I use the phrase change the world so much that I think my staff they're putting dollars in a jar every time I use it because I just use it that much. It's kind of become because that's exactly what I think. I think we can change the world. And it's creating that environment, like you said, where people feel safe to be themselves. But not only that, in the workplace, if you have people that are masking all day long, they're exhausted when I get off work, if it's been a day where, for example, if I go to a conference and I'm speaking at a conference, and my team, my coworkers who go with the conference to me, they know this. If it's something where I've had to be on all day long, I am exhausted when I get done because I have to be that speaker. I have to be that engaging, charismatic person, and in the afternoons, I'll disappear because I'll be in my hotel room just sleeping or sitting there just doing nothing. And it took a couple of years for them to realize what I was doing. They thought something was wrong with me every time. I'm like, no, I'm just exhausted from doing it all day. So imagine how much more energy a person would have in the workplace if they didn't have to do that. How much more productive they could be if they didn't have to do that. The neurodivergent brain thinks differently. So if you want real innovation, If you want someone that can really think outside the box, then it's your neurodivergent. We don't even know the box exists because for us, the box does not exist. We have to construct the box through these neural pathways, these new neural pathways that we have to build to be able to fit into society. We have to literally construct the box. So if you want someone to think outside the box, it's your neurodivergent people. They can do it. They can do it if you provide them an atmosphere in which they can do it, if you give them the accommodations that they need. So I tell my staff, look, I don't care when you work because this is what was told me. I said, I don't care when you work. I don't care when you're here, as long as you get the job done. And if I need something, you pick up the phone. And it works. It works. My staff, I have to make them go home because they will not, they enjoy what they're doing. They're passionate about what they're doing. I can't, I've got one person right now that's got like 40 hours of leave I need him to use before the month is over with, but I can't get him to do it. I have to make him take time off because we created an environment where people can be free and be themselves.
That's
So,
amazing.
your thoughts on that? I'm curious your thoughts on that before we go to the next.
I think it's amazing. Yes, what you're doing, you are following your heart. I think a lot of us prioritize the what we call the logic, right? The brain, what we have to do, what we must do, what we're expected to do, the mortgage and the car payment. And so a lot of people are shocked because I don't have a bed and I move all the time, couch surfing, sometimes in shelters. And so I'm the happiest person there is. That because I am following my heart. And like you, I need a lot of sleep. I need 10 hours of sleep to be functional. And I occasionally need naps if I am on a podcast and I need to put on that mask that you're talking about. So I can absolutely relate. But I have to do so much that people do not see as well. And that's on my own timing because my heart is ready. And so I have adapted to listening to my heart and shutting down the rest, the voices, not the rest, because I still need my brain to write things, but to shut down societal expectations and societal judgment of, well, you seem fine. Well, yeah, I am, because I had 10 hours of sleep, 2 hours of meditation, because I took my coffee in the sunlight watching butterflies. And so, yeah, I am doing fantastic, but I'm doing the work to be and stay that way so I do not relapse because I have learned the cost of not doing so. So, not everybody has the luxury of having, and I say that with intent, the luxury of having a relapsing, demyelinating diseases. I say luxury because every time I do a little too much and I'm not listening to my heart, my purpose, my body schedule, then I flare up and I feel my lymph nodes swell, I lose my eyesight, I feel drunk, and those are the red flags that the world doesn't necessarily get of, oh, are you sure you want to go back to that route? And I'm like, no, just kidding. Let's take a nap. Just kidding. Let's go chill with bees. I'm so thankful. And I have completely let go of people will think I'm lazy, people will think blank, the society will think blank, because now I am 111% invested in my purpose. I'm going to make it against all odds, 1% at a time, without a crew yet, without money, on food stamps. And that's part of the story that is going to be told to inspire others. So I'm happier than anybody out there. When people feel
I
sorry
just,
for me, I feel sorry.
just seeing you, I 100% believe that. 100% believe that the energy that's coming off of you is just
Thank you.
infectious. There's something though that you really nailed, and it's something we don't really consider. So I talk about creating these safe spaces in the workplace that people can be themselves, that they can be free, that they can innovate. And let me clarify, this is for literally everyone, because everyone has a degree of mental health struggle. Whether they admit it or not is a different story. That whether they admit it or not, it's a different story. So yes, I mentioned the neurodivergent brain a lot, but even the neurotypical are dealing with mental health struggles that they may not be admitting, they may not be aware of, they may be afraid to speak up about. Now, let's talk about the neurodivergent though. So when it's very common, people with autism, ADHD, Asperger's, with is on the spectrum, but still, um, it's very common, that obsessive personality. So when we're giving a space to be free, to be able to pursue how we can pursue, and that innovation and that creativity starts, it becomes obsessive. And it's hard for us not to do it at that point. In fact, it's funny that today is the day we're talking about this. So we did the math this morning, because I'm taking 2 days off. And I've taken off before. I take leave all the time, but I don't stop working when I take off, because I'm passionate about what I do. I'm obsessed about what I do. I want to get it to the next thing, and I know that I am. And so we figured it up to date. It has been 1,715 days since I have had a day that I didn't do something for Parks and Recreation in some way. So 1,715 days. So my office this morning, literally when I left work to come home, because this podcast I do at my home, since it doesn't cross over with work. They literally made me turn in my cell phone and computer to them, so that I wouldn't work when I went home. I have access to everything on my personal stuff, so I don't know why they think I'm not going to, but they literally made me turn in my phone and computer, because it's been that long since I stopped. So there's a downside to that innovation and creativity. Your people are going to get obsessive. They're going to work harder for you, but the problem is we go into burnout territory. We burn ourselves out, because we'll see the symptoms of it, but we're enjoying what we're doing, and we'll just ignore them and keep going, to the point that
Yeah.
it would be burnout. And my wife told me a couple of days ago, she said, I have never seen you this tired. I've never seen your energy this low. I think you're getting close to burnout. And she was right, but I had to have someone outside to make me pause and look, because those guardrails were gone. Can before we go into the final thing, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's very relatable as well. I'm an overachiever. I like to do a lot of things, and I'm very passionate once I'm in it. I'm very blessed because I have created my own space where I'm my own boss, with my own lane, and so I can waver away from whatever I need to do, uh, get to do, I should say, not need to do. That's the difference. I get to do what I want. That's such a big difference as well. I lost my train of thought for a second, Thomas. I'm just trying to hide it right now, and not that I'm telling the public or anything, like I'm practicing for the comedy show.
You're good. You just answered it. You just answered it completely. I do the exact same
Okay.
thing. I'll be doing a conference presentation where I'm supposed to have this long presentation, and I'll start wandering off. I've gotten to the point to where I can cover it, and people say they don't notice. Obviously, I know, but they say, "Oh, we didn't notice anything." I haven't figured out if they're being polite or if they really don't know yet. But I could not have told. I could not have told. You did great. We have 7 minutes left, so it's good that you lost your train of thought, because I want to steer us to this last thing. What do you want people to know coming away from this podcast? Give us your end of talk spiel.
That I'm probably not the best person to give advice. That's a starting point, but that you have infinite potential, and it's just tapping into that.
hundred
You're
percent
worthy.
infinite
You're worthy.
infinite potential, infinite potential. So tell us where we can find your work, where we can pursue afterwards to learn more about Josette. Please let us know where we can find that at.
It would be good for you to connect on LinkedIn. That's where my crowd is. Send me a message so we can schedule a Zoom call. I'd like to know who I'm talking to. The movie production is going to happen. I just don't know when. I will have to raise the funds. So it's one podcast at a time, one radio station, one comedy show, one whatever God has in store for us all. whatever people believe in, because I'm not here to divide anybody. Yeah, look me up on LinkedIn, reach out.
And where can people donate to help to help those funds being raised? Contact you on LinkedIn for that as
Contact me
well.
on LinkedIn. On my LinkedIn bio, if you click on my LinkedIn bio, there should be a cards website, and within it, there is the two GoFundMe links for the documentary and the featured film. If you can't find it, it's a good excuse to have a virtual coffee with me. So reach out.
Definitely 100%. Well, thank you so much for coming on this show. We really appreciate it. Before we end, I just want to say this final thing. I'm going to ask you a question that I am starting to ask everyone. If you could change one thing in your past, what would it be, and would you actually change it? And I ask it.
That's not a 1 minute answer, Thomas. I would not change anything. But if you make me, you force me to do something, I think I would be a little kinder to myself, because in turn I probably would have been kinder to the world.
I have noticed in my journey that there are things that I would like to change, but if it came down to the moment, would I actually change it? And the answer is probably no, because it got me to where I am now. It got me to the thoughts that I'm having now in the introspection. Would I be that same person if I could go back and change it? So saying that I wouldn't change a thing, very common answer, especially for people that have been through that breakthrough moment. It has been such a pleasure having you on the show, Josette. Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much for coming. Everybody watching, thank you for watching Safe Spaces in Green Spaces, here brought to you by DPRS Media Network. I want you to remember one thing. You are enough. You are enough exactly how you are. You have the ability right now to change the world. You are enough. Thank you, Joby. Take us all out.
In today's parks and recreation industry, communication, safety, and efficiency go hand in hand. That's where Outdoor Link comes in, delivering smart technology that empowers city departments and community planners to do more, smarter. Outdoor Link's platform connects and automates everything that keeps your parks running smoothly, from lighting and locks to signage, water features, Wi-Fi, and digital advertising. Control and schedule park lights for safety and energy savings. Remotely manage facility access. Coordinate fountains and splash pads. Provide public connectivity. All from one simple, unified platform, giving you real-time control, data, and cost efficiency. For parks and recreation agencies, that means safer spaces, smarter resource use, faster responses, and stronger community engagement. And behind every great park story is great infrastructure. That's why Outdoor Link proudly supports DPRS Media Company, helping the Daily Parks and Rec Show amplify the voices of professionals shaping our communities every day. Outdoor Link, smart, connected solutions for parks, recreation, and beyond.
In the parks and recreation industry, attention is limited, but influence is everything. Every day, thousands of parks and recreation professionals make critical decisions. Decisions on infrastructure, programs, technology, and vendors. The question is your brand part of that conversation? DPRS Media Network was built to answer that question. We are a dedicated media ecosystem focused exclusively on the parks and recreation industry in the United States. Through a network of daily and weekly shows, we inform, connect, and influence this audience. Our distribution spans multiple platforms: LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, plus email campaigns, newsletters, podcasts, and live event coverage. This is not a single-channel strategy. It is a multi-platform media engine. Today, our network reaches over 214,000 connections, including 51,000 on LinkedIn, 64,000 on Facebook, nearly 40,000 email subscribers, and thousands more across podcast and social platforms. While some audiences overlap, our true value is not just reach, it is relevance. We speak directly to parks and recreation directors, program managers, and industry leaders, an audience that is highly targeted and actively engaged. Through DPRS Media Network, your brand integrates seamlessly into this ecosystem. Through sponsored show segments, targeted advertisement placements, podcast features, and host-read promotions, even custom-branded content. Not as interruptions, but as part of the conversation. And we don't just operate online. We attend over 15 major parks and recreation conventions each year, reaching more than 24,000 professionals in person. Through live shows, interviews, and on-site media coverage, we position our partners at the center of the industry. Every piece of content we produce is amplified across our entire network. Multiple shows, multiple hosts, multiple platforms. Your message doesn't appear once, it multiplies. This is more than advertising. It is strategic positioning within a trusted media network built specifically for the parks and recreation industry. If your goal is to reach decision makers, build credibility, and stay top of mind, then it's time to partner with DPRS Media Network. Apply for partnership or sponsorship today. Let's position your brand where the industry is already paying attention.